Whispers of the Heart. Setting: a quaint, vibrant Amish community in Pennsylvania, known for its beautiful landscapes, traditional way of life, and tightly knit bonds among its members. Characters: Rachel, a 22-year-old Amish woman, known for her adventurous spirit and artistic talent. She often dreams of exploring the world beyond her community. She has long dark hair, warm brown eyes, and a knack for painting landscapes. Leah, a 24-year-old English woman from nearby, who works at a local bakery. Leah is outgoing, with short blonde hair and a bright smile. She is curious about the Amish way of life and frequently visits the community to sell baked goods. Story: the sun began to set over the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, casting a warm golden hue across the Amish community. Rachel stood on her porch, clutching her paintbrush as she tried to capture the beauty of the moment on canvas. Each stroke of the brush released a whirlwind of emotions pent up inside her. She felt trapped between her dreams of adventure and the expectations of her community. As she stepped back to admire her work, a familiar figure caught her eye. Leah was walking down the lane, her basket of freshly baked goods swinging at her side. Rachel's heart raced. She had always felt a pull towards Leah, a connection that transcended their different worlds. "Hey, Rachel," Leah called out, her voice ringing like a bell in the stillness. "What are you working on today?" Rachel blushed, hastily covering her canvas. "Just something for the community fair." She looked up, her heart pounding. "What about you?" Leah stepped closer, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I was hoping to convince you to sneak out with me tonight. There's a music festival in town, and I have an extra ticket." Rachel's breath hitched. She had never been to a festival, let alone one outside the community. The thrill of rebellion coursed through her veins. "But what if someone sees me? Who cares?" Leah grinned, her confidence infectious. "This is your chance to experience something new. Besides, I'll be right there with you." After a moment's hesitation, Rachel's adventurous spirit won over her fears. "Okay, let's do it." That night, they donned simple dresses and slipped out of the community under the veil of darkness. The air was electric as they made their way to the festival. Leah held Rachel's hand tightly, and every brush of their fingers sent shivers down Rachel's spine. As they arrived, the sound of music filled the air, and the vibrant lights danced around them. They laughed and twirled through the crowd, and for the first time, Rachel felt truly alive. But as the night wore on, whispers began to circulate among the festival-goers about the two women. A local man recognized Rachel and confronted them, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. "What are you doing here, Rachel? You know you don't belong." The tension in the air thickened as Rachel's heart sank. She could feel the weight of her community's expectations pressing down on her. Leah stepped forward, her voice steady. "She has every right to be here. She's free to choose her own path." The man scoffed and left, but Rachel felt a sense of dread wash over her. "I think we should go," she said, anxiety creeping into her voice. Leah squeezed her hand tighter. "No, we won't let them ruin this for us. Let's just enjoy the music." They danced under the stars, lost in the moment, but as the festival drew to a close, they knew they had to leave before anyone else recognized them. They slipped away from the festivities, hearts racing. The escape. The moon hung high in the sky as they walked back toward the Amish community. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them. They turned to find a group of locals approaching, their expressions a mix of anger and disappointment. "Rachel, you're in trouble," one of the women called out, her tone sharp. "You can't just leave like that." Leah stepped protectively in front of Rachel, her eyes blazing with defiance. She's not doing anything wrong. She deserves to experience life. Life? This is not life, it's a disgrace, another man shouted. With their voices rising, Rachel's heart raced. She grabbed Leah's hand and pulled her away. We need to run. They sprinted through the dark streets, weaving between houses and fields, fueled by adrenaline and fear. As they ran, Rachel felt alive in a way she never had before. They reached the edge of the community, and Leah spotted a narrow path leading into the woods. Over there. Leah shouted, pointing to the path. We can hide until they're gone. They ducked into the trees, their breath heavy with exertion. The sound of footsteps faded as the locals searched for them, and the forest wrapped them in silence. In the cool darkness, Rachel turned to Leah, her heart pounding not just from running but from the realization of what they had just done. Thank you for standing up for me. I don't know what I would have done without you. Leah stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair behind Rachel's ear. You don't have to thank me. I care about you, Rachel. A spark ignited between them, and Rachel felt her heart swell. I care about you too. As the adrenaline subsided, they shared their first kiss, soft, tentative, and filled with the promise of more. But the sound of voices in the distance reminded them of the danger lurking outside. Where do we go from here? Rachel whispered, fear creeping back in. Let's escape, Leah said firmly. Let's go somewhere we can be ourselves, where we won't be judged. With that, they plotted their escape, deciding to leave the community behind. They could make a new life together, one where they could be free to love without fear. The journey. Early the next morning, under the cover of dawn, Rachel and Leah packed their bags, filled with essentials and mementos. As they left behind the only life Rachel had ever known, tears streamed down her face, but she felt a sense of liberation that she had never experienced before. They hopped into Leah's old car, its engine humming to life, and set off into the unknown. As they drove away, Rachel took one last glance in the rearview mirror, whispering a silent goodbye to her past. The road ahead was uncertain, but with Leah by her side, Rachel felt an exhilarating mix of fear and hope. They were embarking on a journey filled with endless possibilities and the promise of love, adventure, and a life where they could be true to themselves. Epilogue. Months later, in a small town far from the Amish community, Rachel and Leah had created a beautiful life together. Rachel had found her passion as an artist, painting vibrant landscapes that captured their journey, while Leah continued to pursue her dreams in baking. They would often reflect on that fateful night, grateful for the courage that brought them together and the love that had given them the strength to escape into a life filled with laughter, freedom, and endless adventures. In a world where they could finally be themselves, Rachel and Leah discovered that love knows no boundaries, and together, they could face whatever challenges life threw their way. Characters expanded. Rachel's family. Eli, Rachel's father, a strict but loving man who values tradition above all. He believes in the Amish way of life and has high hopes for Rachel's future within the community. Miriam, Rachel's mother, more understanding than Eli, but still bound by community expectations. She has a soft spot for Rachel's artistic talent and fears losing her daughter to the outside world. Leah's family. Tom, Leah's father, a warm-hearted but protective man who has always encouraged Leah to pursue her dreams. He is curious about the Amish way of life but worries about Leah's safety around them. Grace, Leah's younger sister, a free spirit with an artistic flair. She admires Rachel and Leah's relationship, but she's also protective of her sister and fears societal backlash. Continuation of the story. As Rachel and Leah settled into their new life in a small town, they faced challenges that tested their love and resolve. Though they had escaped the rigid confines of the Amish community, the road ahead was fraught with its own difficulties. Family tensions. One evening, Leah received a call from her father, Tom. "Leah, honey, I heard from Mrs. Grayson at the bakery that you've been spending time with an Amish girl. Is that true?" His voice was warm but laced with concern. "Dad, it's not just any Amish girl. It's Rachel. She's amazing, and I love her," Leah replied, her heart racing at the thought of her father's reaction. "Laugh? Sweetheart, you know how different your worlds are. Are you sure this is what you want?" Tom asked, a hint of worry creeping in. "Yes, I'm sure. Rachel makes me happy," Leah insisted, her voice firm. Meanwhile, Rachel faced her own challenges with her family. Her parents had noticed her absence, and one day, Eli knocked on her door with a determined look on his face. "Rachel, we need to talk. Where have you been?" "I'm just exploring new things, Dad," Rachel said, avoiding his piercing gaze. "Exploring? You've left our community behind. Do you think this is how we raised you?" Eli's voice was raised, a mix of anger and disappointment. "Maybe I don't want to be raised that way anymore." Rachel shot back, tears forming in her eyes. Miriam stepped in, her tone softer. "Rachel, we love you, but you're breaking our hearts. You can't just abandon us for some fleeting fancy." Complications arise. As the weeks passed, Leah and Rachel tried to balance their newfound freedom with the realities of their families. One day, Grace overheard her father talking about Leah's relationship with Rachel. Concerned, she approached Leah. "Are you sure about this, Leah? You know how people talk. What if they don't accept her? What if they try to hurt you?" Grace's eyes were wide with worry. "Rachel isn't just some girl, Grace. I love her. She deserves love and acceptance, just like anyone else," Leah replied, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "But what about Dad? He won't understand," Grace insisted. "Then we'll make him understand," Leah declared, determination shining in her eyes. Meanwhile, Rachel was grappling with her own doubts. One night, while painting in her small studio, she received a text from Leah. "Can we meet? I need to talk." Fearing the worst, Rachel rushed to meet Leah at their favorite cafe. As Leah arrived, she looked frazzled, her usual confidence dimmed. "What's wrong?" Rachel asked, concern washing over her. "My dad is talking to some of the community leaders about you," Leah said, her voice trembling. "He's worried about me being involved with an Amish girl." Rachel's heart sank. "What will they do?" "They want to protect me, but they might not accept you. They might say terrible things," Leah admitted, tears pooling in her eyes. "I can't go back, Leah. I can't face my family or my community again. I won't let them control me," Rachel said, anger and fear clashing within her. The strain of secrets. As the pressure mounted, both families began to interfere. Eli confronted Rachel again, this time with Miriam by his side. "You can't keep running away, Rachel. We are your family, and we deserve to know what's going on," he demanded. Rachel felt cornered. "You don't understand. I'm not happy in that life. I want to choose my own path." Miriam's voice was softer, yet firm. "We love you, Rachel, but love means compromise. Can't you try to understand both sides? Understanding means accepting who I am. I can't keep living a lie." Rachel's voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. At the same time, Leah's parents decided to pay Rachel a visit, wanting to meet the girl who had stolen their daughter's heart. Tom and Grace arrived unannounced at Rachel's new apartment, their faces filled with both curiosity and concern. "Hi, Rachel. We just wanted to talk," Tom said, trying to sound casual. "Hi, come in I guess," Rachel replied, her heart racing as she realized the gravity of the situation. As they sat down, the conversation turned tense. Tom's eyes were filled with a mix of apprehension and sympathy. "Rachel, we want to know about you. What do you see for your future with Leah?" Rachel felt exposed, her heart racing as she faced Leah's family. "I want to be with Leah, but I'm scared of what my family will think. I can't go back, and I don't want to lose her." Grace chimed in, her voice gentle. "You're brave, Rachel. But if you truly love Leah, you need to be honest with both families. Hiding won't protect you." A turning point. As the tension reached its peak, Leah and Rachel decided to hold a family meeting. They needed to confront their parents and make their love known. They invited both families to a gathering at a local park, where they hoped to find a peaceful resolution. As everyone arrived, Rachel's heart pounded. "Thank you all for coming. We wanted to talk to you about something important," Leah began. Rachel took a deep breath. "We love each other, and we want to be together. I know it's different, but we're happy. Isn't that what matters?" Eli crossed his arms, his face stern. "You think this is just a phase, Rachel? You're throwing away everything we've built. Our community, our faith, everything." Leah's father stepped in, trying to calm the situation. "But what if this love is genuine? What if it brings them both joy?" Miriam's voice wavered. "I just don't want to lose you, Rachel. It's hard to accept." Rachel turned to her mother, desperation in her eyes. "You won't lose me, but I can't live my life in fear. I want to love freely, and I want you to accept me for who I am." Tension hung thick in the air as both families processed the weight of their words. Grace spoke up, her voice steady. "It's okay to be scared. Love can be confusing, but it can also be beautiful. We should support them, not tear them apart." Slowly, the atmosphere shifted. Tom took a step closer to Rachel, his expression softening. "If you make Leah happy, then we want to support you both. Just promise us you'll be careful." Eli, still stern, glanced at Rachel, his heart conflicted. "I just want what's best for you, Rachel." Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I want to be true to myself. I hope you can understand." Resolution. As weeks passed, both families began to come to terms with Rachel and Leah's relationship. They faced scrutiny from the community and struggled to balance their beliefs with their love for their daughters. Leah's family stood by them, learning about the Amish way of life and even participating in community events, trying to bridge the gap. Rachel's family, while still grappling with their beliefs, slowly started to accept Leah, recognizing the joy she brought to Rachel's life. Rachel and Leah worked hard to prove that love knows no boundaries, attending community events together, forging connections, and challenging misconceptions about their relationship. They became advocates for understanding, hosting gatherings where both families could come together and share their cultures. While there were still challenges to face, whispers from the community, lingering doubts from their families, they stood united, knowing that love was worth fighting for. Rachel found solace in her art, painting pieces that depicted their journey, while Leah continued to support Rachel, reminding her of their shared dreams. In a world that often tried to keep them apart, Rachel and Leah discovered that love could conquer even the deepest divides, transforming their families and community in the process. They proved that true love transcends boundaries and that embracing differences could lead to profound understanding and acceptance. Their journey was far from over, but with each other by their side, Rachel and Leah felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand, heart to heart. The escape. After the emotional confrontation with their families, Rachel and Leah felt a renewed urgency to escape the confines of the Amish community. Despite the love and understanding that began to blossom within their families, the fear of losing that freedom loomed large. Planning the escape. One evening, as they sat in Leah's apartment, Rachel's eyes glimmered with determination. "We can't stay here, Leah. Even if our families start to understand, the community will never accept us. We need to go where we can truly be ourselves." Leah nodded, her heart racing. "You're right. We need to make a plan. I've heard about a safe house in Ohio for people leaving their communities. It's supposed to be a haven for those seeking freedom." Rachel felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Then let's do it. We'll leave tonight." They quickly gathered their essentials: clothes, money, and a few sentimental items. Leah grabbed a small notebook filled with sketches of Rachel, capturing moments they had shared. Rachel took her art supplies, not wanting to leave behind the passion that had been a part of her identity. The journey begins. As night fell, Rachel and Leah slipped out of Leah's apartment and into the darkness, hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. The roads were quiet, illuminated only by the moonlight as they drove towards the unknown. They were filled with a sense of liberation but also anxiety about what lay ahead. As they drove through the winding roads of Pennsylvania, they shared whispered hopes and fears. "What if we get caught?" Leah asked, biting her lip. "We won't. We've planned this well. We'll stay off the main roads and avoid any towns we know," Rachel reassured her. But as the hours passed, their excitement began to fade, replaced by the daunting reality of their decision. They stopped at a small diner to grab coffee and food, but the lingering gazes of patrons made Rachel uneasy. "Do you think they can tell?" Rachel whispered, her eyes darting around the room. "Let's not draw attention." "We need to stay low," Leah replied, her voice steady but her heart racing. Obstacles on the road. The first challenge came when they crossed into Ohio. A police checkpoint loomed ahead, bright lights flashing in the darkness. Leah's heart dropped as they approached. "What if they ask us where we're going?" "Just act normal. We're just two girls on a road trip," Rachel urged, gripping Leah's hand tightly. As they reached the checkpoint, a police officer approached their car. "Evening, ladies. Where are you headed?" "Just to visit a friend," Leah replied, her voice betraying a hint of nervousness. The officer peered inside, his gaze lingering on the pile of belongings in the back seat. "All right, but make sure you drive safely. There have been reports of people fleeing communities. Stay vigilant." Rachel felt her heart race as they passed the checkpoint, the weight of the officer's words hanging heavy in the air. "We can't go back. We have to keep going," she whispered. "Facing the community." As they drove deeper into Ohio, the fear of being found began to haunt them. They spent their nights in motels, always looking over their shoulders. The isolation of being on the run was overwhelming, but they found solace in each other. However, one fateful night, while they were staying at a small motel, they received an unexpected visit. Rachel's father, Eli, had been tracking their movements and had found them. He stood at the door, a mixture of anger and concern etched across his face. "Rachel, open the door," he shouted, his voice filled with desperation. Rachel's heart sank. "What do we do?" she gasped, panic coursing through her veins. "Hide. Quickly," Leah urged, pushing Rachel toward the bathroom. Rachel held her breath as she listened to her father's frustrated shouts. "You can't run from us. We love you. Please come home." Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she realized the depth of her father's love, even as it felt suffocating. After what felt like an eternity, Eli eventually left, his footsteps echoing down the hall. They waited in silence until Leah finally exhaled. "We can't keep running like this. We need to find a way to break free for good. Finding sanctuary. The next morning, they set out to find the safe house Leah had heard about. With each passing mile, they felt a mixture of hope and dread. The journey was long and filled with uncertainties, but they finally arrived at the small, unassuming house nestled in a wooded area. An older woman named Ruth welcomed them, her warm smile easing their tension. "You're safe here, girls. This is a place for those who need to find themselves and escape from their past." As they settled into their new home, Rachel and Leah began to feel a sense of belonging. They met others who had faced similar struggles, sharing stories of loss, love, and the fight for acceptance. Each person's journey inspired them to embrace their truth. The struggles continue. Despite the comfort of their sanctuary, they faced new challenges. They needed jobs to support themselves, and the looming fear of their families searching for them still weighed heavy on their minds. Leah found work at a local art studio, where she could express her creativity, while Rachel took a job at a nearby cafe. They slowly built a life, finding joy in small things like cooking together, exploring the town, and sharing dreams for the future. However, their families continued to reach out, desperate to bring them back. Letters and phone calls poured in, filled with pleas for forgiveness and promises of acceptance. Eli wrote, "Rachel, we miss you. I wish you would just come home. We can find a way to make this work. You don't have to do this alone." Miriam sent messages, filled with love but tinged with sadness. "You are still our daughter, and we love you no matter what. Please don't forget us." Each message pulled at Rachel's heartstrings, leaving her torn between her desire for freedom and the love of her family. Leah felt the weight of Rachel's struggle and offered her support. "We can write back, let them know we're okay. But we have to stay true to ourselves." Making a stand. As time passed, Rachel and Leah decided they could no longer hide. They wanted to confront their families, but on their own terms. They organized a gathering at the safe house and invited their families to come. The day of the gathering was filled with mixed emotions. Rachel and Leah prepared themselves, knowing this would be a pivotal moment in their lives. When their families arrived, the tension was palpable. Eli's face reflected a mix of anger and worry, while Tom appeared hesitant. Rachel took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Thank you for coming. We want you to understand that we're happy here. We found a place where we can be ourselves." Leah chimed in, her voice steady. "We love each other, and we want you to accept us for who we are, not what you want us to be." As conversations unfolded, there were moments of anger and hurt, but there were also moments of understanding. Tom shared his fear of losing Leah, while Eli expressed his struggle to accept Rachel's choices. Through tears and heartfelt confessions, they began to bridge the gap between their worlds. The meeting ended with a tentative understanding, leaving both families with hope for the future. New beginnings. As the seasons changed, Rachel and Leah continued to build their lives together. They embraced their identities, sharing their art and love with the world. Their families slowly learned to accept their relationship, realizing that love knows no boundaries. Rachel's paintings transformed into a symbol of their journey, capturing the beauty and struggles they faced. Leah's artistic talent flourished, and she began to teach others about the power of self-expression. Their love story became a beacon of hope for those who felt trapped, proving that love can conquer adversity. Together, Rachel and Leah navigated the challenges of their past, turning them into a powerful narrative of resilience and strength. As they stood hand in hand, gazing at the horizon, they knew they had chosen the right path. Their hearts whispered promises of forever, ready to face whatever the future held, together. As Rachel and Leah began to settle into their new life, the struggles they faced weren't just limited to their families. The broader Amish community was still very much a part of their lives, with some members actively opposing their escape. Opposition from the community. Lydia was a fierce elder in the community, known for her strict adherence to tradition. She had always held a close relationship with both Rachel and Leah, often visiting their families to discuss church matters and community events. But when she learned about the girls' escape, her reaction was one of betrayal. "They are lost. We must bring them back," Lydia declared at a community gathering, her voice rising above the others. "They are tarnishing our way of life, and we cannot let this go unpunished." Many in the community nodded in agreement, a wave of murmurs cascading through the hall. Some were sympathetic to Rachel and Leah's plight, but the fear of losing their traditions loomed large. Allies on the journey. However, amidst the opposition, there were also those who rallied to support Rachel and Leah. Samuel, a childhood friend of Leah's, had secretly admired the couple from afar. He had always believed in their love, and when he found out about their escape, he decided to help them. "Come with me," he whispered when he caught them outside the safe house one evening. "I know some people in town who can help you get back on your feet. I can get you supplies, anything you need." Leah was skeptical, glancing at Rachel, who nodded. "Thank you, Samuel. We'd appreciate any help we can get." Samuel led them to a local farm where a kind-hearted couple, Ella and John, offered refuge to those escaping the Amish lifestyle. Ella, with her warm smile and gentle demeanor, embraced them immediately. "We've had others like you come through here. You are welcome," she said, her voice soothing. "We'll help you find work and a place to stay." With their support, Rachel and Leah began to forge connections in the outside world, learning to navigate a society that had once seemed so foreign to them. The threats intensify. Despite the kindness they found, Lydia and her followers were relentless. Word spread quickly through the community about Rachel and Leah's attempts to start a new life. One evening, as they sat around a campfire with Samuel, Ella, and John, the shadows of two figures loomed closer. It was Miriam and Eli, Rachel's mother and father, accompanied by a couple of other community members. They approached the group with anger etched on their faces. "Rachel! Leah!" Eli shouted, his voice a mix of desperation and fury. "You need to come home. This is not the life for you." Miriam's eyes glistened with tears. "We love you both. Don't throw your lives away for a fleeting fantasy." The confrontation escalated, with Samuel stepping forward protectively. "They have chosen their own path. You can't force them to return to a life that doesn't accept them." Lydia pushed her way to the front. "You think you can hide from us? We will not let you destroy the fabric of our community. There will be consequences for this betrayal." Rachel felt her heart race, panic bubbling inside her. "We're not betraying anyone. We're just trying to live our lives authentically." The battle for acceptance. As the argument intensified, Ella intervened. "Enough. This is not the place for this discussion. You cannot force them to return against their will." But the community members were undeterred, issuing threats that sent chills down Rachel and Leah's spines. "You will regret this," Lydia warned, pointing an accusing finger. "We will make sure of it." The confrontation ended with Eli and Miriam storming off, vowing to continue their search for Rachel and Leah. The tension hung thick in the air as the girls realized that their journey to freedom was only just beginning. New allies in the city. As days turned into weeks, Rachel and Leah took refuge with Ella and John, finding work on their farm and gradually building a new life. But the constant threat of the community's return weighed heavily on them. Samuel remained a close ally, visiting often and providing updates about the community's movements. One day, as they worked in the fields, Samuel returned with news that sent shivers down their spines. "Lydia is rallying the community. They've decided to hold a meeting to figure out how to bring you both back. What can we do? Leah asked, her voice trembling. We need to leave this area for a while, Samuel suggested. There's a bigger city nearby. You'll be safer there. Rachel's heart raced. But what about Ella and John? They've helped us so much. They can come with us, Samuel said. We'll find a way to keep you safe. The escape to the city. That night, they packed their belongings and said goodbye to the safety of the farm. Ella and John joined them, their hearts heavy but resolute in their support. The journey to the city was filled with tension as they traveled in silence, unsure of what awaited them. Once they arrived, they found themselves in a bustling world, a stark contrast to the quiet life they had known. Samuel helped them find a small apartment in a safe neighborhood, introducing them to a supportive LGBTQ+ community. Rachel and Leah felt a sense of belonging they had never experienced before. But Lydia and her followers were not far behind. The couple continued to receive threatening messages from the community, and their parents didn't give up hope of bringing them back. The confrontation in the city. One evening, as they attended a community gathering at a local coffee shop, they spotted familiar faces from their past. Miriam and Eli had followed them to the city. What are you doing here? Rachel shouted, panic coursing through her veins. We came to find you, Eli said, looking both hurt and angry. You can't run away from us forever. We love you, Rachel. Leah stepped forward, protective of Rachel. You can't force her back. She's not your property. Miriam, tears streaming down her cheeks, pleaded, we just want you to come home. Please, we miss you so much. In that moment, Rachel felt torn between the love she had for her family and the life she was building with Leah. I can't go back to a life that doesn't accept me for who I am. I'm happy here, and I need you to understand that. The tension in the room was palpable, and as more community members began to arrive, it felt like a reckoning was at hand. Finding resolution. In the heat of the moment, Ella stepped in again, her voice steady and calming. We're here to support them, to love them as they are. This community is more than just blood ties, it's about acceptance and love. The words resonated through the crowd, causing some to reflect on their own beliefs. There were murmurs of agreement, and for the first time, some members began to question their staunch opposition. Maybe we can find a way to coexist, one community member suggested tentatively. Rachel looked at Leah, hope blooming in her chest. Can we start over? Can we find a way to come together? A new beginning. Over time, the conversation shifted from threats to discussions about acceptance. Rachel and Leah's courage in standing their ground inspired others within the community to reconsider their perspectives. With Samuel, Ella, and John's unwavering support, they began to build bridges, inviting their families and community members to learn about their lives in the city. They organized events that showcased LGBTQ+ art and stories, fostering understanding and acceptance. In the end, Rachel and Leah found a home not only in each other, but also in a community that had once felt alien. Their love story became a beacon of hope, showing that change is possible, even in the most unlikely of places. As Rachel stood next to Leah at an art exhibit showcasing their work, she whispered, "We did it. We built a life together, and we found acceptance." Leah smiled, her eyes shining. Together, we can face anything. And so, hand in hand, they faced their future with hope and love, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. A happy ending. After their escape from the Amish community, Rachel and Leah found a newfound sense of freedom and hope as they settled into their new lives in the city. With the unwavering support of their allies, Samuel, Ella, and John, they slowly began to build a life filled with love, acceptance, and possibility. Building a new home. Rachel and Leah found a cozy apartment in a diverse neighborhood that embraced differences. The walls were adorned with art they created together, each piece telling the story of their journey and the love they had fought for. They set up a small studio in their living room, dedicating their time to painting, creating, and expressing themselves. Leah's brush strokes danced across the canvas, while Rachel captured their adventures through photography. Their art became a therapeutic outlet, allowing them to process their past and share their vision of love and acceptance with the world. Finding community and support. As they ventured further into the city, they discovered a vibrant LGBTQ+ community that welcomed them with open arms. They attended local events, joined support groups, and made lifelong friends who understood their struggles. Samuel, their steadfast ally, became a vital part of their new family, often joining them for coffee or to help with their art projects. Ella and John frequently visited, bringing laughter and warmth into their home, often sharing meals that reminded them of the community they left behind but had now transformed into something entirely new. A new purpose. Motivated by their journey, Rachel and Leah decided to channel their experiences into a greater purpose. They began volunteering at local organizations that supported LGBTQ+ youth, sharing their story to inspire others facing similar challenges. They organized workshops that focused on art as a form of healing, teaching young people how to express their emotions and experiences through creativity. The joy they felt in helping others further solidified their bond and commitment to one another. Reconnecting with family. While they embraced their new life, the journey of acceptance wasn't entirely smooth. Rachel and Leah took time to process their feelings about their families. They missed their parents and siblings, even as they understood the pain of being rejected. One day, Rachel received a message from her sister Mara, expressing a desire to reconnect. With a mix of excitement and anxiety, Rachel and Leah agreed to meet her at a local cafe. When Mara arrived, Rachel's heart raced. They shared a cautious but honest conversation, with Rachel expressing her love and the pain of being cut off. Mara listened intently, her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you, Rachel. I just didn't understand," Mara admitted. "I want to learn about your life now." Slowly, the sisters began to mend their relationship, taking small steps towards understanding. They introduced Mara to Leah, and over time, their bond deepened, creating a new supportive family dynamic. Celebrating love. Months passed, and Rachel and Leah's love only grew stronger. They often reflected on their journey, recognizing how far they had come. To celebrate their anniversary, Samuel, Ella, and John planned a surprise party for them. As they walked into the vibrant space decorated with fairy lights and colorful banners, laughter filled the air. Friends from their new community gathered to honor their love and resilience. "Cheers to Rachel and Leah," Samuel announced, raising his glass. "May your love always inspire others." Surrounded by friends and family, Rachel and Leah exchanged heartfelt vows, promising to support and love each other through every challenge. In that moment, they felt an overwhelming sense of belonging and acceptance. A bright future. With each passing day, Rachel and Leah continued to thrive in their new life. They started a joint art exhibit, showcasing their work alongside the stories of LGBTQ+ individuals who had found their voices. The event garnered attention, fostering dialogue about love, acceptance, and the courage to be oneself. As they looked toward the future, Rachel and Leah felt grateful for the journey that had brought them together. They dreamed of opening an art studio and gallery dedicated to supporting and showcasing marginalized voices, creating a safe space for creativity and expression. Conclusion: love triumphs. Their lives were no longer defined by the restrictions of the past, but rather by the freedom they had fought for. Together, they faced the world hand in hand, committed to making a difference and living authentically. As they stood in their studio, surrounded by art that reflected their journey, Leah turned to Rachel and said, "We've come so far, and I wouldn't trade this life for anything." Rachel smiled, her heart full. "Neither would I. Here's to our future, together." With love, laughter, and a deep sense of purpose, Rachel and Leah embraced their new life, proving that love, in all its forms, can conquer the greatest challenges. Their journey was a testament to resilience, acceptance, and the beauty of being true to oneself.